You want to find a plant that has good roots. And yes, I am the person who, when I go to a nursery, I have been known to do this. And to look at the see the root system it's in. Now, the root system, this is a good root system here. But have you ever seen one where you can't even see the soil? That's called root bound. And if you just planted it, which I know a lot of people do, it doesn't do anything. It can't do anything. So you have to, and I'm going to show you on this. If it's root bound, you actually take, and we call it tickling it. But you're actually pulling roots like this. And we're telling it, you need to grow this way, and this way, and this way, not just like this. And so I call it tickling the root. But Marie, okay, if you ever go and you find this is kale. This is kale. And if you ever go, and there's supposed to be one in there, okay? But there's two in every one of them. So instead of being 4 plants, there's 8. But you don't want to
get our money's worth, you know.
Yeah, you got to get your money's worth. So if you have something like this, you can take it and you can actually rip it apart like this. And you're going to plant it in your ground where you get to come plant it. And you get to plant it, and I did this a week ago with mine. Yes, gloves. We love gloves. And go ahead and plant those. And usually I would take these off, and if I was planting them in the ground right now, I would plant them up to here. Just because I don't want to be whipped in the wind. So I would plant them a little deeper.
And kale's a good time to be planting this now.
And kale is, yes. We use kale all the time. Okay. And so if it's root bound and you have no other choice, it's the only place, then you're going to pull those roots apart. And you're going to go, here, yeah, do it anyways.
Same with your flowers.
Yes, if you have the flowers and you're the root bound, you've got to get those, roots so that they can do that.
Do you ever put plastic on your tomatoes or? No.
You mean on the ground? Yeah. Oh, you can do that, yes. And especially if you've got a weed problem.
Under?
She's using it, and because the heat of it.
Is it the black plastic? Is it black plastic?
Yeah, the heat of it is going to help to warm up the soil faster, and it's going to keep the weeds down. But you just need to keep an eye on that you don't dry it out too much, or put too much moisture on it. You've got to watch it. And every one of you here has a moisture indicator in its back, right there. So you can't have your gloves on when you're doing that. Yes.
I would imagine that maybe a lot of people have questions about how to have a successful tomato yield. The last 3 years I've had an awesome tomato yield, but they're all green in late October, no more growth. It's really frustrating. So I planted about 20 tomatoes indoors the end of March. They're about 3.5 inches tall right now, 4 leaves. I've got a head start from my own past scale, but what do we do to have a successful tomato yield and get red tomatoes before they?
I was listening to a gardening demonstration the other day, and I love one. See, you learn all the time. Because one of the problems that we have here is it gets so hot so fast that they won't set the tomatoes. The blossoms are coming on, but they're not setting. And he said something that I went, oh, I'm trying that. He said he had got the roll cover, the really, not the really thick one, the thinner roll cover, and he put it high above to make a little bit of shade and cool those plants just a little. Because once it gets to a certain temperature, if it doesn't cool down at night enough, they will not set tomatoes, and that's why you got them so late, is because it finally cooled down enough to get tomatoes, but then here you have green tomatoes so late in the year. So I'm actually going to try that this year. But it's a problem that we have
So
here.
it's okay to plant them in a little bit of shade. Not full shade, but just where there's, like I've got a walnut tree that casts some shade.
In the afternoon?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yep, they probably would actually like that. But see, I don't have that. It's kind of like, the biggest shade.
Or what about by a
The
fence?
mountain over there.
We were talking by a fence, maybe by a fence, as
Yes,
the sun's coming on this, setting on this side.
yeah, but you want it, you want all of the garden to have at least 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours of sun a day. But if you get the shade in the, it'll probably be okay, especially for the tomatoes, because it's gonna cool them down a little bit. So, yes.
I actually, my dad's a huge gardener and always has been, but my dad always told me that when I wanted him to ripen, to cut back on the water and cut the tops off.
And I do that too.
And they always, since I've been doing that, they always ripen.
Yes,
Cut the water down.
yes.
Say that again, louder.
When I want them to ripen, because I usually have a hard time getting mine ripe as well, because I get a really late frost often. But I cut the water back and then I cut the tops off. So I literally go out there with my hedger and cut my tops off.
You shock them. They go,
Yeah, and they totally,
Yeah,
Well,
because what
You've got
happens
to
when you cut them,
harvest.
and I do that every year too, thank you for reminding me. When you cut them, it actually sends out a hormone to the, because the whole thing this plant is designed for is I must produce seeds, I must produce seeds. That is its primary purpose. It's not I must feed you, it is I must produce seeds, okay? And so when you cut that off, it sends out a hormone and it shocks the plant and it goes, I'm not gonna produce seeds if I don't hurry. And that's exactly what you're doing. Yep, and the same when you pull the water back, it's going, oh, I'm too dry, I need, so yeah, you're right on,
Survival mode.
Yes, you put it in the survival mode, yes.
Broccoli and cauliflower, how do you get that nice big head? I would get 2 or 3 little things and you could pluck those off, and then it goes to seed. What's with that?
You know what, broccoli is still I haven't
Broccoli's
figured it out. I'm gonna
Very
tell you
tricky.
honestly, I planted some, but I know some people say, well, you take the leaves and you tie it so that they're shaded inside of there. But with cauliflower, I was just like, I can't figure that one out. I do beautiful broccoli, cabbage, all of those. And yet, one of my friends said, oh, my husband raised a whole field of cauliflower, with this big. And I'm like, how did he do it? She goes, I don't know.
so what's the variety? Someone tell me the variety that works.
I don't know. I keep trying.
Because I can't grow it either.
Because I keep thinking, well, maybe my transplant was too root bound, or, I keep trying to figure it out, and I do not think it's great cauliflower, my husband. Okay. And the other thing, you want to make sure that they're free from disease and pests. So if you see,
Bugs.
bugs or disease on it,
aphids.
aphids, yeah. Okay. And it's not too small or too big. I know a lot of people go and buy tomatoes that are, this big, and they pay a tremendous amount of money for it. And I struggle with that. You pay $6 for it. It's too much as far as I'm concerned. Put something in more like this size, put it up to here, and that thing's gonna take off. It will just take off. Okay, how do I harden off transplants? You start 7 to 10 days before planting.
What does
And
that
go
mean?
ahead.
Getting it used to
What's
being
hardening?
outside.
Hardening means to acclimate it. It means I have this plant here and it's been in my greenhouse, it's been in my house, it's not used to the wind, it's not used to the sun beating on it, and it's got to get acclimated. So 7 to 10 days before you are gonna plant this, you've got to train this, that it'll be okay out there in the wind. It's gonna be okay. I mean, not at 80 mile an hour, but 10, it's okay. Okay, next one. The first day you do it for 2 hours. And increase it each hour each day. I can tell you, that's the most wonderful thing to do. You work full time, there's no way that's happening, right? Yeah, it's not happening, so guess what? You came up with another way to do it. And go put it on the east side of the building. If you're gonna be working every day and you're leaving, put them out there in the morning on the east side of that building. It's gonna get the morning sun. It's gonna be in the shade the rest of the day. And that's how you can do it. Because you know what, we all have lives to live. And the last few days, if it looks like the weather's gonna be okay, leave it out at night. So it gets used to the fluctuations, the temperature in the morning and the temperature at night, because it needs to do that. Okay? Go ahead. Oh, daytime temperatures should be about 60 or above when you're trying to harden them off and to acclimate them to it. Nighttime temperatures above 50. You don't want to put them out overnight at 34 degrees. Might be a little bit of an overkill.
Even if you use your cans,
Even if you use your
your
cans.
cans.
If I could use the cans on these just fine, because they are much hardier plants. But if I use the cans on these and it got down to 30 degrees, the can itself is going to be cold, or it's really going to damage them. Okay. And so that's a place on the east side of the building. It really does work well, and I had to do that while I worked. It's not, I mean, they can stand the cold, and it's not what I'm just trying to keep that. What happens is when the wind comes through, it's pulling the moisture out of the plant so fast that it cannot pull the moisture up from the ground. It just can't that fast, and that's why they die. So these are very valuable. Okay, you want it healthy and green, and if you find a one that's kind of yellow or whitish, you know there's a problem. Next. Yes?
Just a question on your tomatoes. Do you, as they grow, do you like thin them, like the leaves?
Like when it comes.
When it starts to, yeah, and you know, do you
The
go
middle
for and
one?
thin them, or do you
Okay.
not, or?
They do that a lot in California. It doesn't make any difference here in Utah. And when I say that, I'm going to tell you another trick. You don't have to do that here in Utah. But if you had a plant that you wanted a cutting off of, if you take that extra one, you know, here's your stem, here's this one coming out here. If this one had another one coming right here, and it got about that big, you actually can cut that off and put it in soil, put it in a pot, and it will root. And you've got a clone of what you have.
So it doesn't help the production of the fruit?
It doesn't in Utah. In California, they do it all the time, and it really does help. But it doesn't here in Utah. And I don't know, something about our climate, I don't know what it is.